Welcome to Cosmic Comics, Games and Collectibles, your zen of geekism. We carry comics old and new, magazines, toys, games like Pokemon, Magic, D&D. Want Godzilla, Ultraman, Star Trek, Ninja Turtles, Funko Pops? You'll find it all here. Shop our Cosmic Sound Room and pick up a record or two. Enjoy our Comic Coffee Lounge with a cup of Sasquatch coffee while geeking out over a super cool movie on our big screen. Cosmic Comic, Games and Collectibles. Superman loves us, and so will you.
Hi everyone, Jason Hunt here, inviting you to join us every Saturday morning for news. The week's headlines in science fiction, fantasy, horror, comic books, video games, plus Comic-Con updates and the weather, and the occasional interview along the way. We call it Good Morning Multiverse. We hope you join us every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 Central, right here on Sci-Fi for Me TV.
And good evening, everybody. I am RJ Carter, Senior Managing Editor here at CriticalBlast.com, Chief Envelope Licker for Critical Blast Logistics, myopic proofreader for Critical Blast Publishing, and I will answer the phones and put my 35 years plus of IT and database experience to work for you with the data from your crowdfunders through consulting, Critical Blast Consulting. We do that. Basically, we tell you what you did wrong, and you get to give us money for it. It's kind of like Dogbert. I like that. Tonight, there is only one reason why everybody is tuned into YouTube tonight, and that's to see a toy frog. So, in the spirit of that, I have brought with me, this is it, the mechanical frog. Look at that beautiful thing. It's a thing of beauty. This is an amphibious android, if ever I saw one. So if that is, if that was your raison d'etre for getting into YouTube tonight, mission accomplished. Here it is. You've got your frog. So he's going to hop around now that I put him over there. Tonight, we are going to dig into what's really important, and that is crowdfunded comics. We are going to head over to Kickstarter for this one. As you just saw, we're starting late because that was a really long video. That's your fault, Doran. You're the one with the 2.5-minute video here. So, but that aside, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stream tonight, Mr. Doran Corkum.
Hello.
Welcome back. You know what? I thought for sure, for absolute, because I was going to reuse the video thumbnail. It's like, he was just on not too long ago. I know I talked to him about this book, but I think we did it on another channel.
Yep, that's correct. We did it on the Madness at one point, just on one of the end of the weekend where Pops was away. He was doing the con, and I can't remember what the name of the con was. Yeah,
it was in Atlanta. So
yep, yeah, and we were at a pre-launch stage.
SavannahCon.
Okay, yep.
But speaking of Pops, he's out there, with his trademark "Hey Yo."
Hey yo.
Woody is also here, saying hi to everybody.
Hey Woody.
But the thing is, I did search your name in my video list. I'm like, I just find the last video. What was it? You'd been on here almost 2 years ago.
Yep.
And I completely forgot you.
Yeah, no, it was with the Raquel launch. And
exactly.
it was actually, I remember, so it was really, I was just exhausted, and it was at the end of the campaign. We were trying to get me some more fans, and I just remember being really tired that night. We were just trying to get through things and pop it, and yeah, it was a long one.
Was it a successful campaign, or was it a bust?
It was it was definitely a successful campaign. Yeah, no, Raquel's awesome, and it's been positive reaction to everybody who's got it as well. A lot of people have really liked the story, and I mean the art from Aja Cerezo is really cool.
Well, looking at the campaign for tonight, it's over here. That's why I look this way.
Over there. I always get this reversed.
Over there. Over there. Kickstarter project is on the monitor over there. No, we won't do that anymore. That's bad. Scratch that. Rewind. That never happened. We'll fix it in post. You have passed the goal.
I officially funded. Yes, I believe on Friday we officially got funded. So that's fantastic to be ahead of the game this time for 2 weeks, where we can just work on stretch goals and try to get things rolling to that point. Having said that, I put a low goal. Obviously that doesn't cover expenses or anything like that. So anything that cheddar beyond this is fantastic and much needed.
Yeah, you're at and I'll just put it up here. You're at 1959 right now. Let's be realistic. You need about $5,000 to do a comic right.
And even I think the average cost is $5,000, and I think now that I'm doing Kickstarter, there's an additional cost, right? Because now you're doing variant covers, and now you're doing a whole bunch of rewards and different things. So the cost is actually going up for creating a comic book just a little bit. It's a tricky balance. It really is. But I've never wanted to. This has never been about making money for me. It's something I've enjoyed since I was a teenager doing, and I've always been doing. I'm just bringing light to it now, right? So I think over time it'll probably pick up as you find the fans that you're looking for. I think that's the trick with Kickstarter though, is finding the people who are, it's
Oh,
indie comics, and then now with this one, the other one was horror, so that cut it down quite a bit, and now it's sci-fi, right? So your markets gets smaller and smaller depending on what your project is and what flavor it is, shall we say.
yeah. Well, Kickstarter, what your comic needs to succeed on Kickstarter is boobs.
Yeah,
Kickstarter is
and
notorious
that's
for being the home for the bad girls.
yep, so true in a lot of ways. And we had this actually. I was on Raging this morning, and we had a little bit of a conversation about that too. And that's just not my thing. That's not what I'm going to do. I've been working on these stories since I was a teenager, and it's just not where I'm going with this. Right? I don't mind that other people go that direction. That can be their thing, but it's just not, not my thing. Not the way I'm gonna do it.
I hear you. You tell your story, and that is what's up, Charles. Thank you for popping in. Appreciate you being here.
Hey,
Um,
Charles.
yeah, and I was having a similar discussion, not about boobs. That's daily occurrence.
Well, that's a
Discussion
personal life. That's
conversation.
that's okay.
Yeah, and we had that discussion too, uh, but about marketing the comics, and
Mhm.
you know, you probably heard this from other people, which this is not a new concept, but it seems like a lot of people, they make a comic book and then they market it to the people who buy comic books,
Right.
which on the surface that makes sense. You buy this thing, I have this thing, give me money.
Right.
Into the equation, I get rich. Right? That's how it's supposed to work.
Yeah.
But I think the ones that have been more successful have been the people who said, I've written a hard science fiction novel, or I have written a romance novel in graphic. And then they market it to romance readers and science fiction readers and horror readers. And you bring them in and like, oh, this is a graphic novel because, graphic novels are cool now. Uh,
Yep.
Scholastic has churned out a market of young adult readers who grew up into adult graphic novel readers. So they may not be the superhero fans, um, who came up with the mainstream. But if you've got a decent one-shot story, or at least a limited story arc where they can see that it's going to be done in 4 issues, it's going to be done in 7 books. We trained them well with Harry Potter. That
Good old Harry.
they would jump on stuff like this. Have you been hitting up science fiction only kind of forums?
Yeah, and I did the same with Raquel too with the horror side. I tried to get into some horror communities, but yeah, in this particular case, actually it's funny that you mentioned that. Within the last 2 weeks, I've actually gone out and I found these groups, and it's been actually the most success I've had with posts on Facebook yet. Some of my posts there are getting 60, 70 likes and hearts and stuff. So it's been very, very good when you find the right community. Now that's not necessarily transitioning here, I don't think yet. It's brought me some backers, but that's what it is. Is that you got to find them here and there, and under you have to look under the carpet. You got to kind of sweep out.
Yes,
Where else is there sci-fi fans? Because
and
you're
and
right.
I'll say this too. Um, don't limit your scope to social media platforms. Uh,
Right.
in fact, don't limit it to online. We had James Lee, who was on our channel last night, talking about his latest book, The Steins, his book 3, and we found he was like number 25 in the horror hardcovers on Amazon last night. And what he had
Wow.
done was last month he took out a print ad in Scream magazine. So
Ah,
uh,
interesting. I tried
print
to.
print is still a thing.
Yeah, I tried a very unique thing with this, and it actually cost me when I started. So for my pre-launch and all that, I invested my time in creating a card, and I contacted all the local comic shops, even back in Nova Scotia when I was back home, and I did a pre-launch card and a launch card. So my thought was, all these comic shops have, there's got to be sci-fi fans in there, right? I mean, this is where I would be, this is where I would do. But unfortunately it didn't work out as well as I thought. So those are one of those things you kind of gamble, take a risk. Does this work? Does it not? Okay, I won't do that again, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If it's successful, fantastic, work with it, right? But in that case, it kind of made things, at my start I was very flat when the Kickstarter launched, and it would have looked like I'd never did a pre-launch when I was actually out. I was at Fanaticon, I was at all these comic shops, did the time invested getting the cards printed, put it all out. It just wasn't the way to go about that. And then that's how you learn sometimes, right? I'm willing to take those risks to try and find the right people and
If you
to
don't
explore.
fail, you don't learn anything.
Right. Right. And wisdom is always standing on the shoulders of others, I was once told. So, you know what I mean? If you discover something and you share it, someone else becomes taller. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. It's trade secrets are one thing, but like with shipping, we do all this shipping for a bet. It's no secret, but I'll tell people how we ship. If you want to ship
Right.
your own books, that's great.
Right.
Here's what people like. Do this, and some people have done it, and I probably assume some people have done something differently. I'm going to let the blood flow back in my arm here. I forgot this bandage was on. It was plasma day. So
Oh, not giant mosquito day.
no, not yeah. Well, is I got a little tattoo on the inside of both arms. I switch back and forth.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, let this be a lesson to all you crowdfunders out there who say, I can't pay my artist before the crowdfunder kicks off, so I can't have stuff done. There are ways out there for you to make money to fund your campaigns. If you want to do it bad enough, you will find a way to get that money. Put your blood into it, your sweat into it, your tears into it. At least 1 out of 3 ain't bad. So
yeah, that's right.
So where did the idea come from? I know this is the most trite question of every author ever asked. Where did you get the idea for this book? But what were you doing when, the little book fairy hammered you on the head and said, hey, Forsaken Future?
So this particular series is kind of a combination of things from when it actually all started when I was a teenager, believe it or not. So back in the days, me and the boys in the southern part of Nova Scotia, going back to, again, I always mention Corey, of course, from Sister Mercy, because we were best friends. But we were sitting around and what do you do in the southern part of Nova Scotia, right? But if anyone knows anything, there's nothing there. It's back in the days before we didn't even have a street light when I grew up originally.
They didn't like the gaslight?
Yeah. It was like so
Man.
you would do an intersection. There was never a light to say, "Hey, go, stop, whatever." But so we started actually doing what was considered bad for the day, and we started playing Dungeons and Dragons, and that led us down the line. Yeah. People don't realize what it was like. It was considered demonic. It was considered there was like you're part of a satanic cult if you do something like that. But anyways, we were all doing it in our parents' their parents' house and stuff like that. So we'd go to a friend's house and we'd go play. And I got into something called Cyberpunk. Before anybody here probably knew what Cyberpunk was, we were playing Cyberpunk. Cyberpunk, the original creator, I can't remember the game was. That's now the
Gibson.
No, he was actually, I believe it was actually him at the con back in the day in HellCon in Nova Scotia. I still have the original box and everything of my first Cyberpunk. Which is a role-playing game like Dungeons and Dragons. So we got into that and we loved it. And we loved it because it was so simple to play, but then it was just so futuristic and different than Dungeons and Dragons back in time. Now we're in the future, right? So a lot of ideas spawned from there. And we kind of crossed over some stuff, and I just worked on the story for a long time, and I eventually remastered it. Now I'm relaunching the issue 1 now, so it's pretty cool.
Well, so you were always into cyberpunk, and you had this idea for it's always opposed to. Why is it that we never start replacing our body parts with cybernetics until after the world's blown up? There's never a utopian cyber society
where they're all doing happy-go-lucky. Yeah, everybody's always upset in it, aren't they? Most of the time. Yeah, it's funny how it goes, isn't it? It just seems to be the genre almost.
Yeah.
And I think where I
look, I got a Blu-ray player in the back of my head now, and I watch it on screens in front of my eyes. I'm happy. I'm just watching my movies.
Nothing else to do, right? Just sit in the chair. So it's tricky. It always they're definitely the formula, and the post-apocalyptic world of mine is a little bit different in the sense that, well, for one, it has. I don't think there's a ton of them that would have mutations and cybernetics in it, which I thought was always a real interesting combination. And two is that the apocalypse didn't take out the Earth; it just took out North America, and that's really important to the storyline because once North America's crippled and like 94% of the population's gone, there isn't much left of it, and that's when the politics start to kind of come into play in this world. And this story particularly is about the fact that it's 100 years after that apocalyptic event, and it's the fact that the last remaining fallout shelter, Lucky 13, is still kicking, and they're eventually going to be found. So the rest of the world didn't come in and save us like we expected, the North Americans on the
Oh, no.
continent. Instead, they just took over. They wanted the resources, they wanted everything else. So they just there's a part where I mentioned something called a Terra Dredge in there, which is just this big giant machine like a sandcrawler to Star Wars that's just going around, just chewing up dirt and all that stuff. So it's this crazy thing. I just got a concept art in for it actually last week. So it's just really a very different kind of. It's almost like Dune in a sense. Remember the Dune movie? Well, a lot of people will because it's been recently redone. Where these big machines are kind of going around. I think they're collecting the spice in the movie. It's very similar to
Right.
something like that. And this eventually they're going to hit the shelter. It's just the odds, right? So these two brothers in arms, which you got on screen there now, are deciding we got to do something, right? We're gonna. It's just a matter of time until this fallout shelter's found, and it's the last of the North American ways, and the rest of the world doesn't want that. I have a kind of a division, something called the Euro Union in there, which we all know the European Union right now. But this is the future of that. And it's very Star Trek, but kind of jerk Star Trek. Like they have these planetary defense stations in the atmosphere, and they're just kind of they're just controlling the earth. The earth isn't, we've moved beyond the earth. So the earth isn't our forefront anymore of protecting it and doing stuff. We're out on the moon, we're out in space. So the earth really isn't our primary spot anymore. And
Yeah,
so it's not
screw it.
treated as great, right? So these foreign corporations come into America and build this city called New Washington and then take over the landscape. But now this shelter has to do something because they represent the old America. They actually have the rights. It's their land, but nobody really cares, so they're going to make a move.
It's like a combination between Mad Max and Red Dawn.
Yeah, that's a cool, interesting. Yeah, I always thought of it as a combination of Dune and almost Elysium. If anyone's seen Elysium, it's one of my favorite cyberpunk movies. If people haven't seen Elysium, but I don't think it got the press that it did. I believe it's Matt
Is that the
Damon.
one where it's like the upside down city on top of the other city and sort of a
Uh,
Romeo and Juliet thing going with that?
no. This is like total cyberpunk. I'm
Okay.
pretty sure it's Matt Damon, and if you haven't seen it and you like sci-fi, man, it's a treat. It's the Earth is basically like everybody on the planet is like really poor, it seems, and just run down, and they all want to get to what's called Elysium, this city in the sky, and they all want to live there because that's where health. Like you could save people's lives. There's these machines that instantly heal you, and everybody wants to get there and live, but they're not allowed. They're not. They don't have the right to be there. You know what I mean?
All right, Rusty set me straight.
Yeah, it's space. Yep, that's correct. Jodie
Okay.
Foster was that's right. She was the bad girl. That was pretty cool. And the guy from District 13, the guy with the really strong accent. He
District
also,
9.
is it 9? District 9? Okay. And he was also, actually, he would probably be the lead actor in that new Star Wars Andor that's coming out. I can't remember his name.
There's new Star Wars coming out?
Yeah, new Star Wars series on Disney called Andor, Andor.
I keep hearing there's new Star Wars coming out ever since, Return of the Jedi, but
Oh, there's a
I
lot
I
of Star Wars now.
I have not, confirmed any of that.
Oh, there's lots of good stuff. Rogue One was a really good movie. He
I've
was in
heard
that
what that
movie
one
actually
was,
as
yeah.
well too. This actor I'm thinking, but I can't think of his name off the top of my head. But yeah, Elysium's definitely worth checking out for a movie if you're a cyberpunk fan. To me, it's the most cyberpunk movie probably I've seen since Altered Carbon on Netflix. Altered Carbon was really cool too.
So better than Johnny Mnemonic.
Oh, well, yeah, yeah. Johnny Mnemonic was for the day. It was really interesting, but Altered Carbon, what made that cool is you re-sleeve people. So I could die and be put in this little disc, and I could be put into you. So we could re-sleeve you into me.
You wouldn't want that.
Yeah,
But
you never know, man. I could take over Critical Blast.
it's like, can I be re-sleeved into somebody and get their credit rating? That would be great.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? That type of stuff is kind of going on. So this on screen now is Commander Rasha. So this is kind of, she's part of the Euro Union. So you'll see the little Euro Union logo there next to her. So she's part of the kind of jerk Star Trek, and you'll see a little bit of the design of her outfit has an influence back to the original
Yeah.
Star Trek series. But she's totally unstable and obsessed with one of the members of Lucky 13 Shelter. She doesn't know he's part of this. Like, no one knows the shelter exists, but she's on the hunt for him. And that's the Dark Ace John Liger. So that's who she's hunting right there. And for reasons why we don't know, but she is absolutely, because of not just what makes her so dangerous, is she literally has a condition of OCD, extreme OCD. So she literally can't stop herself. So she'll go to any means to accomplish her goals. And she has the backing of this union behind her to accomplish them. So that's kind of where we're starting off with the series.
Okay.
Now that's Christian Caliber. So that's John Liger's brother in arm. So he's also part of course, the Lucky 13 shelter. So he's kind of the loyal, kind of more thinking person. Picture Liger more like Wolverine in the sense of he's a little more aggressive, but Christian's kind of his balance. His yin, they're the yin and the yang of the situation. And I always pictured them as kind of a fighting duo. And I always say that you could compare it to the Punisher and Wolverine fighting, like on the same team. Like Christian can do the cover fire whilst, Liger's going in and using his equipment in his Dark Ace armor to do whatever. His armor is pretty cool. I've got a technical description of it that comes with the Kickstarter. If you get the card set, it'll actually explain what his armor does. And his style is not, don't picture him as just because he has claws that he's just like Wolverine or something like that. That's not, I've done character design my entire, it's not that simple for sure. The use of his grenades, his gauntlets on his arms, one's for hacking computers. He's got tasers, lasers, battery packs on the back for power and oxygen. It's not a reincarnation in any fact of Sabretooth or Wolverine or anything like that. He's got a basis of claws, yes, but he's also so much more than that. Yeah, he's espionage for sure.
I like the two ship designs here, and
the drones.
They're very insectoid, in which, of course, you get down here, you see, hey, look, Drone Hive 1. Well, that's on purpose, isn't it?
It is, yeah, and the word Hive for sure with that, and that's kind of so the Euro. This is another part of the Euro Union, of course. So this is the idea a little bit from the Matrix, but I wanted technology as one. I mentioned that in the video too. So when you sit in your chair and you do something, you're part of your chair, right? All those cables going into them, you can see there. You literally are plugged into your chair, just like in the Matrix.
It's an extension of yourself.
Yes, and that's a good, and that could be bad, right?
Yeah.
But
well, it's very, it's not that hard to think about. I mean, Scott McCloud brings this up in his Understanding Comics, or maybe in Reinventing Comics. I don't know. It's one of the two. But when we use something enough, it becomes an extension of ourselves. And he uses cars as an example. He's like, look at two cars that, one rams into the other. What's the guy in the front say? You hit me. And it's like, well, no, you hit my car. Well, no, technically your car hit my car. We didn't hit each other at all, but we've extended ourselves into, what we were driving.
Yeah. And another interesting thing they always tell you in defensive driving too, is to look where you want to go. If there's a problem on the road, just look and you naturally will start to steer towards where you need to go to get out of a problem. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Don't be like, what?
No, pick the spot that gets you out of the problem or which way you want to go and stay on it.
Yeah. That's how I am when sirens go off. I'm like, what? Oh, it's on the radio.
No, you don't want to do that with that. No, not good. I was once in a car with one of my foster brothers, and it was our neighbor's car, and he was eating chicken nuggets, and so he's driving with his arm like this. He reached over like this and turned to pick the chicken nugget up, and we went into a ditch with our neighbor's car when we were teenagers. Oh, not good. But anyways, I digress.
Oh man, but okay, so yeah, Hive, the Drone Hive 1, they're plugged into their chairs, or like
they control all the drones, so they're like, these is the most elite. So the planetary stations are there in orbit, and then drones are running around the Earth, kind of ensuring peace, shall we say? It's always peace, right? It's a peace station. They're peaceful drones. They're just making sure everybody's in line.
Peace means you don't attack us. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And this is Jessica Caliber here. Now she's kind of my female Iron Man type person. She's in the shelter. She's part of the shelter. And she's Christian Caliber's sister. So I got a family dynamic going on in the shelter, a modern type of family situation. So yeah, she's very stubborn, but extremely intelligent. And I love you can barely make it out in there, but she's got a heart tattoo with a spike going through it. That's part of my character design that I just loved that tattoo idea on the outside of her cyber arms.
See, that's temporary tattoos. That's
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
your
I always
tchotchke.
thought in the future too, maybe they could change them like a screen. Like you don't have to have the same tattoos on your arm all the time. So this
Well,
is
yeah, it's just an LED.
today is this. Yep. Poosh. Now it's whatever. It's an eagle. Like a lot of people seem to have eagle tattoos when I was growing up. I don't know why, but
I
anyway.
just saw somebody on Twitter, some news story where they're like tattoos on Band-Aids. And it's like the ink was in these little micro needles, and you just put the Band-Aid on and it's on. And then they said, of course, it's great for putting on numbers or barcodes. I'm like, screw that.
Uh-oh. Tracking.
That's not what I wanted.
Yeah. So this is a piece of the art that just came in a couple weeks ago as well, that I wanted to have something that kind of represented what they're fighting for, right? More than just talking about it. So this is kind of the art concept I designed and then handed off to David Dion to work on this kind of modern family. And you know what I mean? They have the daughter there and all these kind of butterfly drones, and this feeling of kind of at one more than anything else, a family. So that's John Liger on the right from the Dark Ace armor, and on the left is Kristen Caliber, and then his sister's in the back. And then so John Liger's daughter is in front, and that's Lizzie or Elizabeth. So again, they're not married or anything. The guy in the background is going to be really important to the story, but I'm really not saying too much about him. There's a reason he has a suit on.
There's a reason why he's sneaky in the back and just like, you're taking
kind of
pictures.
So John Liger, that's his daughter in the front, right? So
right.
The mother is Jessica in the back. So Jessica is dating the guy in the suit. So he's actually not happy the way that she's being all buddy right now with John Liger. Yeah. He's got a little bit of a jealousy thing going on there.
Okay. Well, there's not that many people. You're going to have to get creative.
That's right. There's that, So that's the Planetary Peace Station there. Above the green Earth, after the cosmic event, there's no more blue skies. The sky is now stained green.
I know that this is just 3 pyramids around a kite-like structure, but for whatever reason, sometimes I look at this and I'm like, it's like a living face of some kind here.
Oh, really?
Like one of the Transformers. I'm like, it's Unicron.
Oh, yeah, I love Transformers. So now
we are on the base.
Yeah, we just got the first pages. You got your drone Hive. You got Commander Rasha. There's a couple pages before this that introduce her in a very nice fashion as she arrives to the station. And she's just getting ready to kind of go in and engage. And of course, she's going after good old her nemesis of who she's trying to capture or destroy, the Dark Ace, John Liger. So you kind of got a prelude of how it's going to start. It's action.
You got a daughter with her too?
Yeah, that would be
that's why she's after him. It's child support.
Oh, that's right. You didn't pay. Send the drones. And then we got into the covers. So that's David Dion, the inside page artist, with David Ocampa's work. So David Ocampa worked for Marvel, Image, Top Cows, a lot of the big companies. He even worked for Heavy Metal Magazine, believe it or not, at one point.
I recognize the name.
He's done other indie. He's done covers for lots of other indies out there as well. I can't remember the names off the top of the head, but he was with Xenoscope and all that too. He's definitely a cool guy. He's really good to work with. This is his art here. So here's him doing coloring and his own art. So he did my Commander Rasha cover, which turned out really, really cool. He's amazingly talented. I love seeing something where I have an idea and it's, you know what I mean? They take it to another level. When you deal with an artist like that, it's phenomenal.
I had that experience once when 2001, 2002, fellow thought he was going to be a comics publisher, looking for people to get started. I'm like, okay, well, here's 6 scripts for a 6-issue miniseries. Do you want to see it? And he's like, yes. And he got some concept art from a really good artist in Nepal, whose Spider-Man was like John Romita Jr. Back in the day. And he took my descriptions and just gave me this like standing crowd of all the characters. Like, yeah, that's exactly what they looked like in my head. You nailed the costumes, you nailed their heads. And then it turns out that, wanting to be a comic publisher and figuring out, you have to pay artists, 2 entirely different things.
Yeah, it's not. People don't realize that. They think, and I have this conversation every now and then where people seem to think that it's just easy to be an artist and a comic creator. There is a ton of work that it takes a lot of dedication. There's many pieces to the puzzle, as you say. Like there's the artist, the colorist, the letterer, the layout and design. Luckily, I developed skills throughout my life to be able to do most of that stuff, right? And I decided I'm too slow as an artist. I'm not, where I need to be as an artist or a colorist. I'm okay to do that stuff, but it's better for me to hire people. But you have to be able to spare some cheddar to do that. Some
Exactly.
bucks. You're taking a risk.
They want to draw your book, but they don't have the same vision you do.
Oh,
They don't have the same confidence in its success you
gone
do.
through
So
that.
you know what? Money up front.
Yeah, you can lose a lot of money. I've definitely lost money over the years on giving them a chance, but I found that that's the only way I was going to find the right people. Was you don't know until you try them, right?
Yeah.
And over the years, that's definitely happened. And a lot of artists you'll see on forums complaining about getting stiffed by creators, but it's definitely happened to me a ton of times too. I'm so fortunate now. The only reason I'm doing these Kickstarters and starting this up is because I found what I consider a stable crew of people to work with. Without that, I would have not gone down this road because it's just a nightmare sometimes to be able to you don't know as a creator you don't know if they're going to finish your work. Number one, I've had people just disappear in this project. I had a guy who colored 3 pages of it of the Forsaken Future 3, and he decided after running me around for months. I waited for him for months to do more pages. He was supposed to give me a page a week. Never happened. And then all of a sudden he just said, "No, I'm not going to do it anymore." I'm like, and I said, "Well, I've paid you already for 5 pages or whatever. You've done 3." I said, "You know what I mean? Like, give me that money. 3 pages is useless to me." And he's like, he
Right.
argued with me actually that no, you got 3 pages of colors. It's all good. And I'm like, what the heck? That's not a complete comic. I have to hire someone brand new, right? You know what I mean? But anyway,
Exactly. And
you run into some people who are
the
just
3
in it for
pages
the
you
money.
didn't do.
They just want the money to run and run. And when you run into the people who need the money and want the money, who want to create, that's when you got something that you can do. You know what I mean? And that's where I've been pretty fortunate the last few years.
It's
So
a huge
actually,
trust issue.
yeah. So this is the End of Days cover by Ricardo Silva, who did Sister Mercy. He does the interior pages of Sister Mercy and some of the covers for that as well. So I contacted him and talked to him, and he did this cover for me. And again, I love this cover because it's showing the explosion of the Earth. So the Earth is still blue atmosphere, but you can see that green is starting to come in from the top as the sky changes. On top of the fact, of course, Planetary Peace Station.
So
You'll see a
even though
common.
the explosion was just in North America, the entire Earth is affected.
Yeah, you had to the Earth is affected, and that's why they didn't come in right away. But overall, yeah, no, you're right. The picture is an exaggeration, shall we say, of the of the situation.
I mean, up here, when you see the green Earth, the entire Earth goes green. So
Yep.
that's
Oh yeah,
gotta
the
be
whole
weird.
atmosphere is definitely toasted. But as in for the effect of the impact itself, though, like the physical impact.
Oh yeah, the dirt in the sky alone would block
Yeah, it
out the
caused.
sun for a few years.
Yep. Oh, it's not going anywhere either. It's still there 100 years later. So yeah, the world's changed. It's very deserty, very. You're not seeing any type of trees and vegetation like you used to, unless it's enclosed in some fashion.
I've got the entire opening sequence for Thundar the Barbarian running in the back of my head now.
Oh, what's that? That's a whole other.
Oh my goodness, you are not familiar with Thundar the Barbarian?
I don't think so. No. Maybe I need a
Oh,
refresher.
it
Is
was it
that
was the year it was I forget what year it was. It was the year 1980 something. Cartoon came out before then. And a comet passes between the Earth and the Moon. Tidal waves destroy everything. Hundreds of years later, the Earth is ruled by sorcerers and super science. And Thundar with his faithful companions Ariel the sorceress and Ukla the mock.
the mock? Oh, he
Yeah,
sounds
the mock.
interesting.
He's like this giant lion man who just that's his only way of talking. He's a
Oh,
brute.
okay.
And they ride something that looks like horses, but with giant fat feet. Jack
Oh,
Kirby did the initial drawings for it, and then Alex
oh,
Toth did the
really?
animation. If you have not seen Thunder the Barbarian, you are
No,
missing
never
out,
even.
my friend.
Oh, yeah, I got something to check out for sure. Cool. That's what's
Oh
fun
yeah,
about talking to people who are. You know what I mean? You always learn new things every day.
it was a great 1980s cartoon show.
And I knew I'm big into cartoons, so I'm surprised I missed it. But you can't get them all.
Can't get them all.
And in the '80s, it was hard with the television schedules and stuff. That there was no VHS. Well, there was late '80s,
Yeah,
early
it
'80s.
came along, but nobody was taping Saturday morning cartoons because they were
No,
always gonna be there. You just
yeah, and
catch it the next time around.
yeah.
Um, thank God DVDs came around, but there's still stuff that I'm like, why can't I find this on DVD? Was I the only person watching this?
I thought that about the Star Wars Christmas special, and I had an argument with a friend for years that it even existed. He told me it did not exist, and when I saw it on YouTube, I was like, "Yeah, take that!"
Vindication at last.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've had shows like Probe. Everyone says, what was a great show in the '80s that you liked? I'm like, Probe, and they're like, oh yeah, I love that show, and they go on to describe it. I'm like, what show are you watching? They're like, this show here with starring this person and this person. I'm like, that's not Probe. And I looked up on IMDb, and yes, it is Probe, but it is not the Probe that starred Parker Stevenson for about 6 episodes as basically Elon Musk in a voice-controlled, computerized warehouse, going
Oh,
out and solving unsolvable high-tech crimes and murders.
okay,
Um, Written and produced by Isaac Asimov, of all people. Um,
nice.
so
Jeez, that sounds a little sci-fi-ish. Cool.
it's very sci-fi. I mean,
So
first
did you like
episode was
discovering that one, or were you like, no, no, it's this is stepping on the original?
I was there at the beginning,
Okay.
watching. It was on around the same time as Max Headroom. Um,
Oh yeah.
yeah,
I got to
the
see that a
first
couple
episode
times.
was like all these old people getting killed in bizarre accidents, and Austin James um, finds out that it's the AI in the company computer,
Oh.
which is out to look for cost cutting measures. And these retirees are not adding anything to the bottom line, but we're getting money to them. If they die, we can save that money. So the computer was
How?
killing them out of budgetary concerns.
Oh dear Lord, that sounds very corporate in the future.
Very corporate. I mean, corporate didn't tell it to. The AI just figured it
Yeah,
out.
I just decided,
Uh,
yeah, let's go do this. I got this under control.
yeah,
Let's just let the algorithm do it as we.
coming 5 years from now, I'm sure. Uh,
That's right.
once once
Don't say
everything is
that.
the Yeah, once everything is the Internet of Things, and the computer can get into every device possible. Yeah, it'll change stoplights on you. It'll overflood your washing machine. You'll be
No, not the washing machine.
oh,
So this here is a foil cover for a foil poster I got done
oh
for.
my.
Yeah, I wanted to make kind of a retro. I was trying to go for a retro feel in the layout and design, and then me and Derek Stevens went back and forth, and this is what we ended up with, kind of a collage of things to try and create something pretty unique. And
Yeah, it's kind of
I
Blade Runnerish.
exactly, yeah, that's what it's meant to invoke, is that kind of late '80s, early '90s sci-fi feel.
Yeah, and 11 by 17. That's legal size. Not bigger than legal size. It's big.
Yeah, it's a
So
fair
that's a
size. A
nice
lot of
size
this,
shape.
yeah, it should be a nice piece. I'm really hoping the proof should be in soon for it.
Okay, so that's foil. You're gonna have to send that flat, right?
Oh yeah, yes, oh yeah, flat,
Yeah. Okay.
definitely.
Done that. Been there. Because that
Yeah,
you
any
can't
type of
fold
posters,
that one.
actually, you gotta send them. You gotta send them. I would think. Well, I guess you could tube some of them. It depends.
You could.
But I
I've
don't know
got
if I like
tubes. I
folding it.
send posters in tubes, but I would not send a foil poster in a tube. That you
No,
just you'd
anything
be
I send will always be flat. I don't think I would tube. I don't like curving things, and then it comes out and it's all curvy. You know what I mean? It's
yeah.
then
Well,
you gotta flatten it and put it in a frame. Yeah.
posters that are slicks are okay. They uncurl very very easily.
Okay.
But like Bristol board, no, come on.
No, 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 no. Yeah, I know from working with Bristol board, you do not want to bend that in any fashion. Not a
It
good
will
idea.
never unbend.
Yeah.
You can put that thing in a frame and leave it up for 50 years and take it out of the frame and it'll go whoop, right back in on itself again.
Yeah. So whenever I have rewards, typically I've been doing this. I started doing this with Raquel, and originally with the Forsaken Future when I did my first launch that didn't work out. So I do a sticker set. I just always liked as a kid and it's a sheet. It's not just like a lot of people are just giving you stickers, but I remembered as a kid, I always got them in a sheet, and it makes it more collectible. So I make them to the size of a standard comic book, so they'll fit into with the comic and everything like that. So they can stay and be the backside, let's say, behind the board, or you can just take them off and start sticking. They're all going to be vinyl, but reapplyable, so you can move them around from
like color forms.
Yeah, I think that's what we discussed before too when we were talking. And one of the things,
Yeah,
like almost like a background you could have for them. And back in the day, we'd have like I remember transfer stickers. I'd get like in a Shreddies or something in cereal, and then you'd have a scene on the back of the comic box, the cereal box, and then you sit there with your pencil and you'd put the characters all over the place, right, and create your own little scene.
Yeah, you had to color over the thing and then
Yeah,
peel the
yeah,
back.
with a pencil or something or a coin, and you'd scrape and put them on. And I used to do that all the time when I was young. So has a little bit of homage of retro to me, in the sense. Again, in this case, vinyl is amazing. It's one of the most amazing materials that's come along, I think, in years, in the sense that you can reapply things. Like before,
Yeah, I
stickers were
went out
stuck.
and looked up. I went out on Amazon. I found sheets of vinyl that
Yeah,
would go through a printer.
yeah, I've got a
So you
bunch
could.
of them here. I don't use them for this. I get them printed elsewhere. But yeah, I originally started there. I want to print some stuff here to do a proof and play around with stuff. Yeah.
Yep. Found vinyl, and I found blank Shrinky Dink sheets.
What? Shrinky?
Okay. How old are you, Doran? 12? Come on now.
Shrinky. Shrinky
Okay.
dink dink
Shrinky Dinks were yeah. They were sheets of plastic.
Okay.
Sometimes they would have things printed on it and you colored it in, but you could also lay it over something and trace it, cut it out with scissors. You
Oh.
find a big thing, you'd put it on a baking tray, you'd put it in the oven,
What?
Mom would turn it on, and then you'd watch the edges all curl up and curl in on itself and then magically flatten again once more. It'd be like 1/4 to 1/6 of the original size and thick. And you made little charms and toys or whatever.
Get out of here.
They showed them like conforming to a glass and then staying on there. They didn't do that. That was a lie.
Oh no.
But you poked holes in it before you cut it. You cut a little circle and then it would shrink down to a tiny hole. You run thread through it, and they're Christmas ornaments. They made them for all, for the Marvel heroes. They made them for DC heroes, Hobby.
So this was like a mainstream thing that was going on.
Yeah, it was. Along the era of the Pet Rock and all the other cool gimmicks.
Oh, Pet Rock's so different.
Yeah,
the most ridiculous
things. They're made for your inkjet printer. You could put a sheet through your inkjet printer, print out all of those in color, have people just cut them out and bake them, and end up with Commander Raja that's this tall, and then she ends up being like this tall, and then you put a pin on her and you stick her on your hat.
See, you're just full of information, just knowledge.
I'm old.
Power. Well, no, we're both. These are gray hairs on my head. I just did the big 5-0 this year, so.
You were in Canada. Never mind.
Maybe that's why. Yeah, we had some weird
that
stuff.
Explains it. You got deprived of
dinks. Maybe the government didn't like the name of them, and they're like, no, you can't have that. Maybe they're considered dangerous, putting them in that Canada likes to protect us against, things that maybe aren't so bad.
Less dangerous than jarts, and we had those. Yeah. Let's see here. What else we got? We got some art prints that are 5.5 by 8.5, so that's less than comic book size, but it will fit in the bag. Ships very
exactly,
easily.
And that's important to me. And the one thing I did with this design that's unique that I've never seen anybody else do before is if you scroll down just a little bit, they're all designed to that size for a reason. So there's my art there of the Dark Ace. But if you scroll down just a little bit farther, you'll see if you put all 4 of them together, they create an 1117. So there's a little description at the bottom explains that, and it has a little graphic next to it. So when they go together there, in what I'm doing is, so I did a cross promotion with Sister Mercy. So there'll be a Sister Mercy card that will be 5x5, 8.5 as well. So you could actually, if you're a Sister Mercy fan and you come over, you'll get that card plus possibly these 4. Then you can pick which ones you want to put into a frame if you want to display them, or you can do what everybody does with cards sometimes, like Pop said once, and put them in the drawer. But I'm trying to avoid them getting in the drawer, right? There's great art, and I'd love to see them displayed. So to me, this was one way to display them. Like in my background, you can't see it, but I have some cards over here, and it was really painful when I did Raquel to get frames for them. And I'm thinking to myself, I always get 1117 frames for all my posters. That's the way I work. $5 at Walmart. great deal. Like, this seems to be the size that a lot of people are using at the shows and stuff. Yeah.
And they're cheap, and my wall is covered with
yeah, I got them over here.
cheap frames.
All these ones on the side are all, oops, oh, you can't see it. Yeah, they're a little bit off. Those ones on the side there are all 1117 of those plastic frames.
Oh, look at that. Yeah.
I used to have
Yeah.
walls of those, but because I painted the basement, like that wall on the right used to just be full of it, full of 1117 frames. But yeah.
Rusty says they had shrinky dinks in Australia when he was young.
Oh,
So
really?
some
So the
countries were
Aussies
daring
got
and
it
brave.
and the Americans got it. And I'm gonna have to research it afterwards to see if I just wasn't around for it, or if it's just because the southern part of Nova Scotia just didn't get it.
Oh well. Mike Walters in the chat's getting ready to start his stream up here in just a little bit. So when you leave here, be sure to pop over to the Mike stand on his channel for more niche news. Now, looking at this layout here you got for this 11x17, and you've talked about, going and getting the Sister Mercy one, and it'll have one, you could put that in there. Here's what I think Eagle Rider. Yes, they were shrinky dinks, not shrunken dinks. Okay.
Well,
it's a little bit different. Water was cold.
Yeah.
But here's what I'm thinking. And I put this out here before with trading cards and stuff, but this probably works better with these sized prints because there's fewer of them to do it. But, if you were to do a book and Corey did a Sister Mercy and two of your other buddies did two other books, and you all had this same sized card in there, obviously you could put all four cards in there and you got this nice little frame that represents all four of the books. But what if you had some pre-planning and those four pictures made one picture?
Yep.
And now you've got a set that's and the value of that is that when people realize, oh, this is one of three and the other three are here, we're OCD as hell, Doran. When we know that there's a chase for something, we go after it.
Yeah, and it's definitely a great marketing tool. And my original plan here was a little bit different. My original plan was for the Commander Rasha poster, or the Derek Stevens art print up above that's foil. Not for this to be foil, but the original idea I had was that this would actually be the back of the cards when you put all four of them together. So you'd be able to pick which side of the card you wanted, and then they would all tile together to make this bigger picture if you wanted it. But then it was so painful to figure out where the lines would be if you cut them. And my printing background and everything, it was like, I can't trust a printer with this, I don't think. So I think that what you have to do to accomplish what you're talking about, I actually thought about that because we had discussed it before, way back when we talked about Raquel, and it was the exact same actually conversation. But what I was thinking is you have to create some kind of background that works. You have to really think about it, that if you cut it, like I had a bunch of them from the X-Men that was a danger room scene. So if the lines of the wall,
1990.
Yeah, so if the wall goes up and there's a line in it and you chop it off, it doesn't matter where you chop it, as long as it doesn't hit any major art, right? So because they always trim these cards down, so you'd have to design it, like you'd have to really, really think about the design. But what you're saying is very possible, and I kind of started down that road when we did the cross, a little bit different, but in cross promoting with Sister Mercy, I started that road of, I was going to contact Timothy Fling as well from Waterworld's 2088, I believe he does. So he has a new one coming. I was going to mention to him the same thing. Maybe he could do a card that crosses over with this, and then people could switch them out. Like they could almost make their own sets out of it that they could display on their walls.
First time I ever saw that done was when they introduced Justice League Detroit, and they had the first four issues were the new Justice League characters. They had Vixen, Vibe, Commander Steel, and Gypsy, and they didn't say any. This was before comic shops, mind you. This was, you got them on the newsstand, and I just had them laid on the bed there because I was reading them again. I was like, wait a second, hey, and the discovery that I was sitting on a 2x2 poster, I'm like, wow, blew my mind that they could do something like that. And yeah, it didn't line up perfectly every time, but an attempt was made and respected.
Yeah, and it's definitely, it's doable. It's just you have to be really smart in your design for it. But yeah, no, I like the idea.
You have to definitely do it ahead of time. You can't just say, okay, I've done my one, now you do your one, and continue that. Like,
no, exactly. There has to be some kind of or it has to be some kind of funky design where somehow colors or something works. That the back, maybe they have no background somehow.
And
so
if
that's
you want
not
to
an
get,
issue.
well, then if it's just white, then it's just a 4
Well,
by
if you did like
4
a nice
portrait.
gradient or something, maybe you could do
Yeah.
something that would be funky, like a lot of people do flares to distract the eye. I don't something kind of like that, or maybe something only comes across the corner of it, and then it flares out, so it wouldn't be as. You'd have to play with it for sure.
You want to be really daring, you'll do it with trading cards, so it becomes a 3 by 3. Now you've got
Oh,
9 creators working together, sharing each other's content, and you're like,
and
I was
then
backing
how are
4
you
of
going
these,
to
but now I got back the other 5.
how are you going to display them? Are you going to put them in the plastic holders like I did, which
In the
separates them
page.
out?
Yeah,
Yep,
in the
yep,
card page. Yeah.
yep. So now you have to think about the space between the two pages if you want. But anyways,
The
I
mind fills
I
in the
overthink
gaps.
it.
The mind
The mi-
fills in those
Feels in
gaps.
the gears. Yeah.
Will from Creators Outlet. Hello, hail,
Hey,
welcome.
creators.
Glad to have you here. So let's see, what are we at now? We are at
Oh yeah. So
uh,
I'm doing something unique for this. Is if you scroll up just a little bit, like that's all one card idea. So what it is I'm allowing 10 to be sold where I'll actually do a character design with you. So I'm a slow artist, but I can't do a lot of stuff. But the idea is I'll do a character design with you for an additional $30 Canadian, which is probably around $20
I was gonna
American.
say that's almost real money in America. Um,
Yeah, almost.
yeah,
uh,
in the
and
United States. You're
it's
America
like
too.
this,
I
just
know.
like this close to it. And I'll do the character design. You'll get the original card, and I'll work the character into the story eventually. So over the issues, so you'll actually get a character in there and the first original art of said character.
Even sweeter. So the fact that it's going to show up in the story sometime in the future, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, and we'll
Um,
decide that when we do the character design. Again, you get to pick. I'm kind of picking the side of the Euro Union versus the Lucky 13 shelter. Where do you fall in line with that? You know, they could be corporate, they could be part of the union, they could be part of the shelter, they could be wasteland nomads for whatever design you like.
they
So
could turn into a mutant and die.
that's right. And so this here I had a lot of fun with. It's two bookmarks, but I call it the choose the side bookmark. You can't have them both, so you have to pick your
Oh,
side. You're only getting one of them. Pops was joking
so
about now I got to buy two backing things if I want both things.
that's what you
But I'm
do.
trying to,
That's why you do it.
yeah, yeah. But to me, I'm trying to make you pick a side. You're either on this side of the fence or that side. No sitting on it.
Oh, and then you got the Whitefire Comics 15 card set of different books in
Yeah,
your imprint.
yeah. And this goes back in time, big time, to when me and Corey started out with Whitefire Comics. You actually see Sister Mercy is the card on the right side, the
I hear
original
there.
art for some of that when we did a first run of Sister Mercy before it became what it is now. But
I
this
say
was
the evolution of the character has been
that's what makes this so fun
striking.
is if you look at all this now and compare it to where we're both at now, you just see this evolution. And it's a nice card set that's actually silver ink, and they come in the plastic case, so it's a very visibly nice set. But you'll see even the writing has come so far. Like
Yeah.
we originally created these sets to go to Comic Con here in Ottawa to try and raise money to do our comics before we ever knew a Kickstarter existed or anything. So we were on the idea of trying to find people, but we couldn't afford to do full blown comics. You know what I mean? So we hired artists and the timelines of when the con was starting. So we hired artists. I did a lot of coloring. I did a lot of late nights. But we got this card set together and tried to sell them at the cons. And so what I'm doing now is each Kickstarter I have, I'm slowly releasing these sets out on them as kind of a retro kind of fun thing.
And of course you've got copies of Raquel
Yep.
#1.
So I figured since I have Raquel's some comics left over from Raquel, and I can always get more for the cons. I decided to offer Raquel #1 in here since it's doing very well. A lot of people seem to like it, so I figured I'd offer comics. People want comics, right? So why not give them comics?
Exactly.
This is good.
And you
This one here is actually from you, RJ. I think.
what?
Believe it or
No,
not.
I don't think so.
Okay, are you ready for this? So
Yes.
I think, pretty sure it was us talking about this about a month and a half ago, or whenever that con was. Maybe it was 2 months ago now. I can't remember. But anyways,
Oh, and I
we were
said you should
talking.
have water bottles that
Yeah, you do
are at the
remember.
con.
Okay, yeah, we're like talking about ash water. So in this particular comic, I like to make each series a little bit different than another series. So with Raquel, there's actually hidden runes in the comic book, and you get a decoder card that you can go and decode these runes. In the way I do the Forsaken Future is there's ads that are shots back to X-ray glasses in the old comic books. My love of the RoboCop movies and the sarcastic ads, and they're like Sunblock 5000 and all that stuff. So Ashwater is part of this future where corporations have taken over water because of the problem in the future with the sky. Like everything's polluted, right? So
Right.
ash water is actually one of the ads in there. So you mentioned about doing what a great idea to do a water bottle. So I have weekly prizes in this. This week's prize just happens to be the week that we're sitting here talking, and it's an ash water bottle. So it's impact flavored. That's what the logo is on the right. Impact flavored, Impactolicious.
That is far beyond what my suggestion was. I thought you would just like print like labels and just go get generic water bottles at Walmart full of water and just, sell
I know.
water.
But that's how you evolve things. That's what creative people do, right? That's what I was saying about creativity. And the funny thing about this is, see that little text next to the ash water logo? I've got a whole disclaimer thing there that says like ingredients unknown and a little mini text saying, Water Corporation is not responsible for any type of mutations or side effects caused or thereof destruction caused by said mutations type disclaimer.
So
this is a reward for somebody who will win this. So every week there's a draw Friday night at 8. This is my way to give back to the backers something different. And this is one of the rewards. I might add it as not a reward, but this is what you'll win. It's a prize. I might add it afterwards as something if people want to. I'll put it as an add-on. If people want it, they can certainly have it.
All right. Well, we got more stretch goals that haven't unlocked yet.
No, we're just getting to that level now. So hopefully we'll get into some of these. So first off, I started with the wallpaper because I wanted everybody to get something, the digital backers and the physical. I hate it when I see a campaign and only one or the other gets it, because the digital people are extremely important to any campaign, as we all know. But so the first one is, it's a wallpaper, but it's a really nice wallpaper.
They get a digital stretch goal because they're a digital backer.
Yeah, exactly. And the next one unlocks at 3,500, and that's just a randomly. I've got keychains. I've got all these stickers, a fridge magnet.
You got some stikers.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna randomly. People will win and get stuff, whether I do it in a set or just hand them out one by one. I just want people to get some stuff that I've acquired. Right, I've been acquiring stuff for about a year for my table at the cons and for all that stuff and for this type of situation. So hand them out. Why not?
What? Oh, this is a cover magnet.
Yeah, it's a magnet of the cover. Yeah, so you can put it on your fridge or wherever you like to put your magnets. I noticed
Don't you love it when you do a graphic for your tier and then you find out that it's misspelled and it's not easy to go in there and change it right there on the tier?
That's easy for me to fix. Is it spelt wrong?
You got a magent there. And you're giving away stikers up here.
No, that's the new age word for that. Didn't you know that? Yeah, that's what all the kids call it these days.
That's what you call something you put on your refrigerator that's a shade of purple.
How did you knew all along? Yeah, that's what it is.
It's a magent. I always thought that was kind of stupid in New Teen Titans when they introduced her name is Magenta because she had magnetic powers. I'm like, those aren't the same thing at all.
Magenta's a color.
And she did wear a purple suit. But I was
did
like,
she? Oh, that's pretty
Marv,
close.
you know better.
Magenta's not purple either, being from the printing industry. so that last goal there is important to me as well. I know it's not very exciting. Maybe I should put some art on it as well. But at 5, if I could get to 5,000, it'd be fantastic. But also as well, I want to give the artist some kind of bonus. I don't know what that bonus is. I don't know if it's just a little bit of money or if it's some, so I can get some coffee or whatever. But they deserve it.
Can get behind giving the artist a bonus. I've seen it done many times.
Yep.
And of course, you do ship out in Gemini mailers. The way
we care. I care. I definitely care how people get their stuff, as we should. And I'm sure Critical Blast does does quality shipping.
I've got about 150 Gemini mailers right up here.
Yeah, I heard nothing but good things. Yeah, you guys aren't messing around, whether they're Gemini or whatever brand names. I do find that there's a lot of people who've made, like BCW is making them now. I saw Comic Springs, I think, has their own version of it. BCW, and then there's another no-name brand I saw out before, but I'm just sticking with Gemini. Why wouldn't you? They're the originators of this. Everybody else is kind of ripping them off, honestly. It feels like, but they're not like they're that expensive. It adds a couple bucks.
No, it doesn't even add that much. I mean, I charge because I charge cost for everything that goes into the packing.
Yep.
I think currently they're around 85 cents a piece at cost.
So now you have to times that by 1.25 to get to where I'm at in Canada. Sorry, talking Canadian dollars. Right?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
And then we throw in the fact that the shipping to Canada. So that's where we get into the painful.
That's the fun part about shipping to Canada too. Is like
It's both
Like,
directions, though. It
yeah.
really is. Like, I've been
Well, it's
backing
not
a
even
lot of.
both directions. It's internally
It's
because y'all ain't a
ridiculous.
country. You're a dominion. Um,
Oh,
and it's like, I thought I'll get a hub in Canada and I'll do the same thing I'm doing with Europe and I'll do the same thing I'm doing with Australia and I'll just ship all the books to a hub in
yep.
Ontario and then all the Canadian books can go out cheap. No, it's just as much to send it from Ontario to Newfoundland as it is to send it from the US to Newfoundland.
Yeah.
Because you're all treated like almost international. Every one of these
Provinces.
provinces is like its own
Yeah.
little country.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. Each one, of course, has its own government, just like the states and that. But yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot of silly rules in Canada. But most of this is all controlled by Canada Post, which is it's a crown corporation. It used to not be a crown corporation, but it is, and they just have their rules, and it's so silly. If I go over 500 ounces, and this is where it gets really messy when you ship something, 500 ounces,
500
weight
grams.
500 grams. I was trying to think what the proper term was. I knew it wasn't ounces. 500 grams. It's now the price just jumped, right?
Yeah.
So for the
Oh
states,
yeah.
it's $11 under that 500 grams, and then in Canada that's $6 Canadian. So now it's up to $11. I go over that 500, and then all of a sudden, boom, I'm up to $14 to $20, depending on the weight of it. Right? It's crazy figuring out. People don't realize how painful it is. Like, I got my scale down here. I'm sitting there with this PDF off the Canadian Post website, and actually somebody messaged me on this saying, "Hey, the shipping's too much." I'm like, "I'm sorry, man." Like, I think he thought I was ripping them off, and then I sent him the numbers. I said, "Okay, this is why it's this number." I said, "It's this much plus there's a fuel tax." So on top of that value that's hidden in all that,
Oh.
there's a fuel tax if it's not a document. So if you go over the 500, you're going to get a fuel tax on that, and then
They're
of course
charging
there's
you for the
taxes.
gas to transport your mail.
Yeah, I didn't know until I looked at my receipts afterwards, and I looked at it and I said, "Why do only some of these have fuel tax and some of these don't?" And it was because it was. And then I asked Corey, because he's been shipping these for a while, and he has a real in with the guy in Nova Scotia. He says it's because of the fuel. As soon as you go over, they get you with a fuel tax. I'm like, "Are you serious?" And I started looking at all my paperwork, and every receipt, $3, $5, $3, $5 additional shipping for fuel.
Now,
I'm like,
now, now,
"What?"
now, mind you, they both went on the same truck. A half a kilogram package isn't weighing down that truck. You're not
It's
getting
another
less
way for
mileage.
Crown Corporation to make more money off you. It's really shameful, if you ask me.
Justin
Um,
Castro has got to go.
yeah, and
Oh, wait,
then
wait.
and then there's our provincial taxes on top of that. So throw in the provincial tax, throw in the fuel tax, you're easily up to $5 extra per shipping. The only advantage to all that is that's all Canadian dollars. You get a 25% discount technically off that when the Canadian dollar is at 75 cents to yours, but it's all
You know
just
what?
a poop show, shall we say, for saying it nicely, and what
You
you
know
have to
what you
deal
do?
with.
You just put them all in one box. You only mail one box. Yes, it's greater than 500 grams, but it's only one box, and you send them to me, and, then I'll ship them out.
Yeah,
It'll be a lot cheaper.
yeah, I think it's really
Much fun.
tricky because I even thought of driving over the border because I'm only an hour and a half away. I'm thinking, do I have to do this every Kickstarter? Just drive them over. But then I realized if I go over the border, I have to declare I'm working for its business, or if they snag you, you get in trouble. If I go over there with a bunch of mailers with pre-labeled with everybody's address, so they're going to know what I'm doing, right? So I'm like, oh, so you can get in trouble that way.
You
But yeah,
mail them to a UPS store across the border. You drive across the border to get your mail, and then you label them.
oh, well, that's smart.
Mhm.
Would
Yeah.
would that cost me just as much in the end when I had it? Yeah, that might save some money.
Run the
It
numbers,
might.
find out.
Yeah, and the other thing is a solution like yours, as you're saying, is where instead I get them shipped to somebody in the States, and then they ship them out to people in the States.
If
It's
that works with comic books, our next step, cigarettes.
right, right. Well,
Kidding. I'm kidding you too.
yeah, yeah, no, and I'm talking about getting them printed in the States, so they're going from the States to this, to you, let's say to your place in the States.
That's the
So they're
other
they're never
option.
ever in Canada, so they don't have to worry about again. Then there's a chance at duty fees. There is a chance that when this gets over the border, you could get duty
Sometimes.
fees. Yeah, very
Um,
rarely, but
I mean, the thing about the duty fees is that that's basically calculated off of the customs. That's your customs form.
yep, yep.
And the VAT for books in Canada um, is 5%. But it has to get like high enough for them to really care about. I sent a lot of stuff to Canada and heard nothing. Maybe the recipient paid 5% and just didn't say anything, but I've
Yeah,
heard
you
nothing.
wme know. They just charge us on their
Yeah.
little device when they show up at the door.
Well,
That's
now
why I'm
I've
always
sent a
scared.
box of books to Canada, and UPS calls me and says, "Yep, got your books here. You want them to move somewhere? You're going to send us another $22." So,
Yep.
so sometimes they charge me, and then sometimes they charge
Depends how they
person.
catch it. Depends on which direction it's going sometimes. Yep.
And sometimes, if it's a book, and the declared value, by the way, folks, you don't declare the retail on your declared value. It's how much would it cost you to give them another book at what you put into it. So, a book, $5. And that's probably overestimating it depending on the
Yeah,
size of
I
the
put
book.
it at cost. Everything I put at cost, just
Yeah.
unless it was some. Well, I did that for the art cards. I had original art cards I was worried about for the Raquel. It was a little more tricky because I was scared because I had to get those from the Philippines shipped to me here, and then I shipped them out to people, right? You know what I mean? So that was an expensive venue, but it wasn't. You know what I mean? It is what it is. But I was worried I was then people are gonna get dinged on them in the duty if so I put them at the basic cost of $20 when really arguably the art and the value of that probably was much higher, but
Well, that's
I took the risk, right?
yeah, that's why I have an easier time with Europe and Australia because I'm sending one box. So the only duty that
Right.
gets charged would get charged to me if there was any.
Yeah.
And then after that, it's domestic shipping. So
Yeah.
you don't
And you know
pay.
what's funny? Up here in Canada, they tell us how can we help small businesses and stuff like that, but you'll never hear them discuss about figuring this out cheaper. And there's some tricks. There's a couple mass like shipping. It's called Ship Something. Ship. But anyways, there's a places you can take your stuff. So if I was to do all my stuff at once, and if I was to go there, I can actually dump it off. And what they do is they negotiate the shipping rate based
Yes.
on everybody they get that day that they're going to ship off. So you have become part of this kind of group of people who's shipping out that day, and that way you get kind of a bulk discount on your shipping. So there's little tricks like that, but it's pretty painful.
Yep, that's part of what a pirate ship does for my business.
Pirate ship, yeah.
Like, and that's a recent development too. I mean, we obviously the core of the business was we bundle all the books for one country, we ship them, and you unbundle them. Well, then pirate ships like, hey, you're shipping a lot of international stuff. Would you like our international rate? I'm like, pirate ship, give it to me now. There's like, we'll make it available to you. Well, it just so happened I had two labels already priced but not paid for because I was waiting for the guy to pay me for them. And one was going to Australia for $55. And when I went in to finally get it, the new rate popped up, and I sent a box of 3 books to Australia for $35. And it's been wonderful. And they're just doing the same thing I'm doing. I take multiple packages, put them in one box, I ship it to Pirate Ship under that rate. They put it in a big container with a bunch of boxes all going to the same country, and they ship that.
Yep. Smart. And I think it's called Ship Station up here that I keep seeing ads for that talks about it. That it sounds like the same type of mentality.
It does. Folks in the chat, I should have told you the link to this Kickstarter is right below the video. You could have clicked it at any time and gone out here and thrown money at it. It was at 1959 when we started. It is at 1959 now. Marty McFly has not gone back to 1959 and brought it up to 1985 at least would have been nice. But we didn't help you. We failed you, Doran.
No, you've never failed me. All you can do is try, right? We can get it out there, present it to people, see how it goes. When the videos, you never know. A bunch of people could watch this tomorrow. You could get a bunch of views on it tomorrow, and then they go check it out. There's still 16. There's 12 days left now, but it's we still got a little bit of time left on this one too to figure it out.
Clock ticked over while we started here, so that's the only number that changed was it went down.
And to me, it's not about the dollar values as much as it is the backers. I would love to get to 70 plus backers on this. That would just show I'm starting to go up with these. And I don't care if they're $10 backers or if they're like $10 Canadian at that. To $100 backers. I just need eyes on it so that the next one we start, we get a little more popularity, maybe more eyes get on it, and then just keep building it, right? So
every
that's the
backer
plan.
you get is at least 2 pair of eyes because they're going to show it to somebody.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why I like giving a little extra sometimes too. Like when I did Raquel, I actually, some of the backers, I sent them random sketch cards. I did sketch cards randomly for people and threw them in the box. Didn't tell anybody. Just put a little note on it and said, "Hey, did this sketch card for you. Thank you for the support," type thing. So it was just something fun to do.
Well, that helps keep you in the forefront of backers' minds when you have another campaign.
Yeah, and I think doing the rewards every week, that's like the water bottle this week on Friday on the draw. That to me is saying thank you back to the backers as well. Something extra for you for just trying to support us and get us rolling. And we're funded. Like this isn't a bad spot for me. Like I'm happy to be funded 2 weeks early. I know it's not.
And with 12 days to go, you're in that trough of funding where it always kind of levels off there.
Yeah, and
it'll
we'll see
spike again in the last 5 days.
Yeah, a lot of my Kickstarters always strangely I say a lot. I've only done 2. The 2 so far have always constantly gone up. I don't have that dip typically that most people do, but I might on this one. It's very possible because everybody always says this right now it should be really hard, and then the last week it'll hopefully pump up some.
Hopefully it never doesn't fall off. It just kind of like the number of backers levels out. It doesn't grow as quick.
And I did have a scare when we were going up. A couple high-end backers did drop before. Yeah, so I don't know what happened there, but all of a sudden one day 2 backers left and they were like $100 backers. I was like, hey, where'd they go? Come back. What did I do?
They had $100 bill pop in.
Yeah, exactly. And in life is life. Look, these are comic books in the end. I have no ill will towards anybody who backs it and then something comes up in their life, because it is a weird system that I think Pops talks about it sometimes too, that they don't take your money to let you know it's gone, right?
Yeah.
It's like a month later, all of a sudden you go, if you do it early, you're going to go, oh, where did my money go for this? Oh, Kickstarter took it,
Yep. Whereas, Indiegogo's like, the minute you back, money gone. They took it.
Control it. Yeah.
I prefer it that way. I don't know why Kickstarter doesn't. They'd be sitting on money for a month and earning interest.
And they think they would like that mentality.
Yeah. Granted, they don't have to pay a refund charge for all the people who would refund during a campaign, but
sure. But it'd be better, and everybody's going to be happier who's a backer to know that their money's gone, because you see it all the time. At least I think, and now maybe that's an opinion that wouldn't be, but I see it all the time at the cons. Someone will come by my table. There's a certain degree of people. There's like, let's say they will come by and go, you know what? I've only got so much money today. I'll be back if I can afford this at the end of the day, right? So there's people on budgets who have to figure out what they like, and usually they do end up coming back and getting stuff.
Oh yeah, but that's why Sunday's the best day at a con for a guy with a table. That's what I've found, because
they're returners.
It's Friday. Everybody gets there. They're like, I'm not spending any money yet until I know what everything is that's here. And then Saturday, they're like, okay, I remember I wanted to get that. But Sunday is like, we're going home today. I still have money. Where am I? I've got to spend this money.
Or I'm going to find more money. I still want that item.
Yeah.
I'll figure it out. Yeah.
So anyhow, Doran, thank you so much for coming on tonight and bringing the Forsaken Future with you. I wish we could have bumped it up at least one, but like you said, replays are a thing. People do come in and see things later on. If you are watching this on a replay, people, and you'll know when you are, because it's not now. It's your now. It's not mine now. It's totally different now. But the link to the I need to get that clip from Spaceballs. When is this? Now. When? Now. Right now.
Yes.
Link below. Click it. Go to the Kickstarter you've seen throughout the video. Pick your tier and sit back and wait for it to show up, because it will show up. This is not his first one. He's done these before. Everybody in the chat, thank you so much for sitting through this tonight and listening to me yammer on. We don't have a show unless you're here to watch it. We're just a podcast falling in the woods. So we're always glad you're here. And while you were here, we just hope you had a blast. Good night.